And also, make sure you don't call us "You Win Against Gravity" again.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have You Win Again, Gravity, and they can say their names and what they do in the band.
Hey, I'm Jack Jennings. I'm the lead vocalist and guitarist.
I'm Johnny. I play guitar. Howdy.
I'm Andy. I play guitar also.
I'm the other Andy. I play the bass.
And I am James. I play drums.
Awesome, guys. Well, as many of you may or may not know, this band has been forever just so hard to track down because I've been trying to interview them for a very long time. Obviously, this is the second interview. The first interview we did was like 4 years ago, which I think is just nuts to me. But I guess what has changed over the 4 years? There's probably a lot that has changed just currently now, but what has changed, over the past 4 years since we last talked?
So we've had an interesting journey of it, I guess. I guess like 4 years ago, what did we just release? So that was just before we released Lightly, was it? Yeah. So Let Go Lightly. So, yeah. So we've released like our first EP that sounded good, right? Let's say that. And the ones before were like a little bit more shabby and like self-recorded and stuff like that. So we'd released our first EP that sounded good, and then we went away and kind of focused on trying to get like this album together, which was Anonymity. When that came out, that was quite a bit of a jump for us. So we kind of had this. We kind of rode off that for a little while. We had some gigs. We played a show called Tech Fest in the UK. That was a festival. We were on the main stage there. And yeah, we kind of came together. That worked out pretty well. And so like everything was running pretty well. We were seeing like the results maybe like that we hadn't seen before. And yeah, we're kind of getting a bit more attention and making more contacts, and we were pretty happy. And then kind of for everyone after that, life started to get a little bit in the way. We're all growing up, and some of our like personal lives went like a little bit awry, and they were generally okay, but it did take some of the wind out of the sails. So the year after that, we did a lot fewer gigs, and we kind of wrote 2 tracks. One which we released last year, whenever it was. When did we release that? I can't remember.
It's like June, I think. Summer.
Yeah. Yeah. So summer of 2019, right? Yeah. And then it took us ages. So basically doing like any one thing that year was just like so hard to get everyone together and like to try and plan out. So we were doing like the video we did to Lights to Left Behind, which was that summer track we did last year. That took ages to come together. And then we ended up having to like drive up to like halfway across the UK countryside to try and go to this guy's house to like try and edit the video with him, because it like the idea we had for the video like did not work at all, and we had to like go totally back to the drawing board. But we'd obviously already paid for like loads of footage and stuff, so basically we ended up having to like flip that on its head, and we would have got it to a point where we were happy with it, and like it did change quite a lot, but like it was just like every time there was another decision, it would add like a week on, and then we'd have to go and do something else, and it just like everything just stretched out ridiculously. A load of us were like busy with work and stuff like that. So it was like, yeah, we basically kind of took half a hiatus, half just like taking forever to do anything. So that second track that we recorded at the end of 2018 still hasn't come out. Well, it only just came out. So we just released that like this month, basically. And that was like, there were a couple of reasons for that. Like usually, especially when we're like writing these songs and they're kind of like spaced out, it's better to try and release them one by one, and if you're going to do that, you may as well release it with like a video or something else that you can drop at the same time. Otherwise it just seems like a bit, it's not as exciting, I guess, to listen to. At least that's how we would see it. So I then had to kind of like put together like a video that I used some software that I used at work and stuff like that, and kind of we just brought it back a little bit. The start of this year we kind of were like, what can we do that will help us like produce a bit more stuff, and maybe tone it down, and do we just like readdress the way we're looking at stuff? Because I think we kind of got a bit more traction, and we were kind of getting closer to where we were, but there was it became quite real, and there was a lot of work to be done. Like, no one ever tells you how much work you can do in a band. Like, it does take a long time to like try and craft that like social presence and do all this other stuff. But so this year I think we were just a bit like, let's take him back to the drawing board. Let's do what we enjoy doing and try and make a bit more like time for it the way that we do it. And that so far this year, that's working out a lot better. We've just released Recursive, which was that second single with a video, which is on YouTube and it's up on Spotify and all the rest of the streaming platforms. And we actually were doing some writing today from quarantine, just like all on a video conference. And we've already started off like a couple, like 2 or 3 more songs basically that are all kind of in the works. And at the moment we're booked in to record them later this year, but obviously things being the way they are right now in the world, we don't know whether that's going to happen or not. So all we can do now is just sit in our homes, and you're just giving us a lot more time actually to write stuff. So that's working out well.
It's a conveniency thing. I know. I feel the same way about it, because a lot of this stuff, obviously, I do over the internet, but it was just like, now everybody's home. So like, if I hit somebody up to do an interview, I like know they're gonna be home, because that's life now.
Yeah, there's
life
a
at your home.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you feel like you guys kind of went through kind of like a restart? Like this year you're like, oh well, you know, a lot of things have changed, like your mentality on like life and like, you know, all the different experiences that you have went through over like the past 4 years since the last time we talked. You're just like, let's just restart the band, kind of, basically, maybe not like entirely, but like you're like, let's just start from the beginning, basically from step 1, and like keep going. Like, let's redo it, basically. Let's see where it goes.
I think so. We decided, we came together towards the end of last year and decided how best to, you know, to take things forward from here. Because like Jack said, we had a lot, away for a lot of us, varying reasons. I mean, Jack had to travel a lot for his job, and we all had our own responsibilities. Like you said, we've grown up a bit. We decided, like, we all still absolutely love being in the band, love making the music, love the music, and it was just about finding a way that it worked for everyone. And we kind of decided to take the pressure off ourselves a bit and do it because we love it, and we don't have to worry so much about what the Instagram post is today and stuff like that, and the admin side of it quite as much. And we're just trying to do it and get the important bits done, which are the best bits anyway.
I think the whole like social media part is something that's never come particularly naturally to us. I think some bands do it really well, and I think we're not one of those bands. And so it's nice to be able to kind of take a step back from it and focus on the parts that we enjoy more. And certainly for me, it's been more fun this year, honestly. So far, we've not done a whole lot, but what we have done has been more enjoyable than it has been the last 12 months for me. So yeah,
that's good. I mean, I feel like social media, and I can even speak on this because I feel like I know, but sometimes it's so hard to like always post something, always to be there. Like, especially now, I feel like it's maybe a little bit easier because people are at home and like they're just like, oh well, I'll just take my phone out and just like, you know, go like do whatever, you know. But sometimes I feel like it's hard for bands and to do that. But you know, I also feel like, you know, some of those bands that maybe not have, you know, maybe doesn't have like a strong social media presence, it's like I feel like their music speaks more, if that makes sense. Like I feel like a lot of your stuff, like I checked out Recursive because I try to do my homework, you know, guys, but I felt like it's very cool. Like I loved Anonymity, and I remember reviewing it because like I get that like memory of like, oh shit, I remember reviewing that and I really enjoyed it, and I was just like, I wonder where they went. Like, you know, everything kind of like after you release that record, I was just like, I haven't heard anything, and I know you guys aren't like heavy on the social media, so I was just like, they're probably still doing something. And then it's been like, and then it was like another like 2 years, and I was like, okay, they have to be doing something. Like it can't be that long. And then when you release, like when I hit James up earlier this month, I was like, we should do something. I was like, I don't know if you guys are still doing anything, because I know you guys in terms of like social media, you're not like super active, but I was like, you got to be doing something. So, and then he was like, yeah, we're still doing stuff. We're kind of like rebranding, doing all that sort of stuff. and I was just like, well, it's perfect time to come back on and like talk about the new stuff and like stuff like that. So have you guys started writing for like a new like record, basically like an EP? Have you decided on how long it's going to be, or you're just going to try to just do what you can do and go from there?
Well, we have booked in, correct me if I'm wrong, 2.5 tracks.
2.5.
Is that right?
2 tracks and maybe a shorter one, didn't you say? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we're currently looking at in terms of like studio time, and that's generally how we have to like brief ourselves, if that makes sense. So it's a lot easier for us because the guy that we record with is generally fairly under demand. Like it's good to just like look ahead 6 months or 8 months or whatever and say like, right, how much can we afford to book in terms of studio time? What can we put together? And that gives us a little like deadline and something to work to. So at the moment that's like 2 tracks and then probably a shorter track as well, if that makes sense. I'm not
so
sure.
It's gonna be like a 20-track LP. That's what I'm trying to get at, because you guys have been around, you guys have been gone for so long. I feel like you're like, listen, for all of the fans, like we're gonna just do we're gonna release a 10-track LP the beginning of this year, and then towards the end of the year we got another 10 track. That's how I'm getting the vibes. That's what I think is gonna happen.
It's a double-length concept album.
The thing is, when it comes to building a buzz and when it comes to releasing things, there's not really a massive difference between dropping an album and dropping a single.
Yeah.
Like for us, in terms of like the traction it gets online. And so it kind of makes more sense for us to record like 3 or 4 songs at a time or whatever and kind of stagger a release over 12 months than it does to, invest so much time, energy and money into producing an album, like 8 or 9 tracks and dropping it all at once, because, it gets about the same amount of traction as a single does. I'm sure like for larger bands, it's easier for them. But really, I think we're kind of in a place where it's just better for us to be releasing singles and kind of drip feeding content as and when.
I think it's more of an attention span thing. Like I feel like people just don't have the time to be like, listen to an LP, or I'll like listen through to an EP.
Yeah, people are just bombarded all the time with all the bands releasing things, and even the very largest bands can only generate like a month or 2 of buzz around a new release, and then there's something else coming along.
I feel like one band that does a really good job of kind of like you were saying, drip feeding content is a band out of Canada called Spirit Box. They release singles, and they release a music video with the single, and basically like the last song that they did on the record, they also recorded a music video for it, but they kind of like didn't release it until like the EP was out, and they just called it the singles EP, and they wound up just compiling all the singles that they had spread out amongst like maybe I would say maybe half a year to a year, and they just put it on a record, quote unquote, and people really enjoyed it. So I feel like if bands can kind of continue that same mentality of like, okay, well, what can continue to generate my band and keep it going, but also at the same time it doesn't feel like, okay, well, we have to release a track every like month now, you know what I mean? I feel like there's enough time in between, but also at the same point, I'm old school. I love LPs, I love EPs. Like I'm old, I'm 27, so I like love that shit. That's stuff that like I grew up like buying CDs, buying records and stuff like that. So for me, I enjoy that sort of stuff because I feel like it's a dying art, but I also understand like in the current status of bands, like you need to have content constantly because people are just like, I need it now, I needed it like 5 minutes ago, and that's tough. Yeah,
it's true. I mean, let's face it, none of our fans are expecting us to like suddenly like drop loads of music on them. Like I think they all know.
Now it's 30 tracks and it's a 3 LP dialogue epilogue thing, and it's gonna come with like a 3-hour director's cut movie. That's what I don't know. I'm just gonna keep up in the ante. You guys are hiding a lot of stuff from me, and I'm very upset by that. But I know you guys have some sort of like you did a movie with Steven Spielberg. It's okay. You can tell. Give me all the details now. Yeah.
Do you know what though? Like you say that, but if you were to look through the library I have on my computer of all the half-written songs that we've abandoned over the last like 4 or 5 years, yeah, there are a good like 12 there.
There you go. So
we'll just stitch them all together, call it an epic.
Exactly. You know, some bands can do that and get away with it, and like they make it sound like it's one song, but we're not very good at that. So best to just leave those husks behind sometimes, you know, like it's weird. They're not very good. That's why they haven't been released. When we come up with the good stuff, you know, 1 in 10 songs, then we'll let it out. It's all killer, no filler.
I was gonna say what's your guys' ratio on like good song? Like so how many iterations of songs do you guys go through where you're just like, okay, like now we're like gonna do it? Like, do you guys kind of all like talk amongst each other and you're like, ooh, I think you should change this? Like basically from like the step 1 where you guys are all like, well, currently now you guys are all quarantined and you're doing that remote like content, but like when you're all doing that, like do you all you're all like, okay, I think we should do this, and then like, some guys like, nah, that's not it, that's not what I want, I think we should do this instead. So like from like the beginning stages to kind of like a full end product, how much change does it go through? Just, you know, I'm curious because I feel like your guys' stuff is like more technical, so I feel like for me it's like I'm curious how much of it like from basic first like demo track to like, okay, like this was on anonymity, like that. I'm curious how much of a change it goes through from that time period.
I mean, in short, a lot. So there's like, so basically there are kind of 2 different ways that we write, and they're both dependent on the situations of the time. So one is that we get to get together as a group. We've set aside time and we've put aside like life for a bit, and we'll go along. And for example, we did that right at the start of this year. We booked an Airbnb out somewhere where there was no distractions, and we've done this before. It's also how we've written a couple of other songs that we've done. So we can go for a way for like a writing weekend, and we'd like force ourselves. We're all like together, we're all in a house, we don't take anything else, like there's no distractions, nothing, there's no pubs nearby, like it's got to be nothing, and then we're all like completely focused, and then we can actually come up with some good stuff. So we did that at the start of this year. That's how we came up with like one of these song ideas that's still being formulated now. And then the other way is that we kind of just do it separately. Like people will just send each other clips of stuff that we've made, and depending on how they get received, I guess, by the band, we'll then take those and kind of either work them together with other stuff, or I think the problem is that a lot of the stuff that we end up writing, they're all kind of short clips, and then we're not as good sometimes as like expanding those to their own songs, because I feel like another band is probably a lot more efficient in the way that they write stuff. So they might come up with an idea and then that will be their song, and they can base the whole thing around this, like, this is the progression, here's where the notes go, from here to here, from here to here, and then like all they have to do is come up with like a middle 8 that changes it up a bit, and then we'll go back to the first thing again, and then you've got like a song, and it's okay. And obviously there's a lot more to it, but like the bare bones of where that music comes from, sometimes you can just be fiddling around the guitar and be like, oh, that's it, there's your hook kind of thing. So for us, sometimes that does happen, but what we're not as good at is like extending that and or joining it to other ideas that we've already got. So this is why we end up with like a bucket load of like carcasses in terms of songs just like put away somewhere, where we can just be like, well, none of these are like good enough in their own right, but like you could add them together if you sat there for a while. But we get kind of too worked up on like the latest thing that we've done sometimes. But yeah, that's generally what happens. So like, for example, 3 days ago, I had like 2 coffees and then sat down and was like, oh my God, I've had a song idea, like straight away. And I just like put loads of stuff down as soon as I could, and then kind of sent it over, and people were into it. And then we were working on that again today remotely. So that's kind of worked both ways. But a lot of the time, like these things start as one person's idea, and then it kind of gets kicked into the everyone else's like side of the court, and they have to then like see what they would add to it themselves. And that's kind of sometimes it's a good way of doing it, because you come up with ideas that you might not have thought of yourself. Like I will start something, for example, throw it over, and then like Andy might come along and be like, oh, have you thought about it going to this chord instead? And I'm like, oh no, I didn't think of that. That's where like that collaborative part comes from. In terms of like changes, yeah, they change a lot, so much. But it tends to go from like, instead of having like a full song that you then add stuff to, for us it tends to go like section by section. So it's like A to B to C to D. So that each of those sections might change quite a lot, but then us putting them together and kind of like building that song length up, that doesn't change. Like we will tend to have unfinished songs that aren't full length, but we won't tend to have like bare bones songs that don't have all the parts on. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. Like that's how I felt with like the last full length. That's like, it didn't feel like there were certain parts where I was just like, okay, there's like a shape, like I don't know, maybe it's just me being a guitar player and I can kind of pick that sort of stuff up, but I was like, there's a different change. Like you can tell, like maybe I don't know exactly who the person is, but you can visualize, at least I can hear like, okay, like, you know, Jack wrote this part, and then like, you know, somebody else would write this part. And like I could hear kind of like this shift in like musical like thought process, if that makes sense too. Like there wasn't like, it didn't feel like, okay, this is all Jack, and then this is all James, and then this is all like, you know, John. This is, you know what I mean? It didn't feel like that. It felt like kind of like I don't know. It felt like there was a good flow to all of it. It didn't feel like, oh well, one thing was just particular to one person. It just kind of all like melded together. And it was kind of
That's
like,
awesome.
You know, stuff like that. Even with Recursive, like the new track, I was like, okay, there's like, you know, they've been, at least for me, I feel like they've been away for a while. So then I was like, so I had to kind of like remember how everything kind of like transpired. So I was like, this is cool though. I was like, it's been so long. So I was just like, wow, this is very cool. Like this is like nostalgia a little bit for me in a sense. But I guess, does anybody else have like, anybody else can back up what Jack's saying in terms of like, you guys kind of go through a bunch of iterations before it kind of finalizes to like a song?
I would say that's broadly correct. I think as a rule, over the last, I don't know, 3-4 years, it's become more collaborative. Particularly the last couple, I would say. I think we do tend to write more as a band now, which is kind of cool. Yeah, we all kind of bring our own thing to it, really. Oftentimes, you know, a riff will come out of a drum beat that James comes up with, or something like that. I quite like the fact that you feel you're able to kind of distinguish between the different styles there. That's quite cool. I quite like the idea of that.
Awesome, guys. Well, obviously, since you haven't been on the channel for a while, and I'm curious on some of the questions that I've been asking people that have come on recently. What have you guys been jamming recently? What's on the Spotify? Obviously, you're at home, so you're able to listen to more music. At least I hope so. And so what have you guys been listening to? I guess we'll start with Andy and go down the line. Jack, James.
Okay, so lately I've really been into this band Copeland. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I've been listening to a ton of them. That's they're kind of very in line with the sort of thing I'm into at the moment. I listen to a lot of, Circa Survive are like my all-time favorite band, and so I guess they're sort of in a broadly similar area, particularly the older stuff. But it's kind of their newer albums that really got me into them. It's so chill. It's lovely stuff. Yeah, so it's been a lot of them really. Yeah, I'm so bad at finding new music. I'm so bad at exploring bands and all of this. I tend to I listen to the same like Seosin albums I was listening to in 2007, you know. But yeah, Copeland has been a sort of a really nice discovery in the last period. So yeah, I'm into them at the moment.
Which Copeland record were you listening to, if you don't mind? Was it the newest one?
No, it wasn't. I've not gotten into that one so much. The album that got me into them was the one before that, which I can't pronounce the name of.
Is it I think it's like IX Exoria
That's
or
it.
something?
Explorer, something like that. I got into them with that, which is it's so great. And then I've been going back and Beneath Medicine Tree and
Yeah.
Motion. They're fantastic.
Awesome. Jack?
So two things that kicked this year off. Yeah, like this is probably going to be the answer for a couple of the other guys as well. But Loath's latest album is good. Is very good. That was great. So I've definitely been spinning that quite a lot. A couple of the I want to say less noisy tracks, but I like those too. But yeah, a couple of ones where they've pulled back off the pedal a little bit and kind of played with the melody and stuff they've done. It's been really, really good. And then James actually introduced me to a band this week called the Mantis Opera, which are like the other end of the spectrum. They're very interesting as well. I haven't really had enough time, oddly, because we've been writing, to listen to them. But yeah, their stuff on Spotify is what I've been listening to quite recently, and I'm a fan.
There we go. James?
Yeah, Jack stole my thunder a bit there, but I did just talk about that band. The Mantis Opera, they are tiny. Like my girlfriend's brother was just invited to see them, and he had them on, and I was like, that's quite interesting because his style of music is fine, but it's pretty down the middle of the road.
Ooh, it's gonna be. This is on video too. On top of that, so you have nowhere to go.
Yeah, they're really quite interesting. If you were to skip through the song a minute at a time, you would think each bit is a different song. They're almost unconnected. They're like 7-minute songs, but yeah. So I listened to that a fair bit, and Royal Coda, who are another one of the Swan.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying that. Like I said, I was going to leave Loath to Johnny because I think he's the most passionate about Loath. He's just bought a guitar basically on the basis of the sound.
Not just them, another band I'll mention in a little while, but yeah, you carry on.
Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously I think it was a little bit a while ago now, but Sleep Token.
Ooh, yeah.
Is one I'm a little torn on. I had such high hopes for the album. I think I thought being probably, they were at the point where I was like, they could become my new favorite band, like period. And it had moments, but I was also a little bit let down, if I'm honest.
Interesting. I love that record a lot. Like that one's probably one of my favorites of last year. Yeah. So
we went to see them as a band in London at January, just before everything went all apocalyptic.
Man,
it was great, and the live performance was really good. We'd seen them twice at a festival before, and it was very nice to see them actually kind of in their own gig where they didn't have to deal with sound issues and whatever shit is going on in a normal festival situation.
Awesome. John?
Me? Okay. Yeah, so I'd like to talk about Loath because, like Jack said, I haven't been able to stop listening to this new album by Loath. They're very Deftonesy when they want to be. It's something they've done on this new album they didn't really do before. The guitarist has discovered that he can sing in a very Pino-y sort of way, and it's just really good. It's like you kind of forgot that Deftones were there, and then I heard this band. I was like, shit, that's kind of more Deftones than Deftones was. I kind of go back to Deftones, and if I'm being honest, I'm kind of like, no, Deftones are great. And Loath are great, and yeah, they play in baritone guitars, and I've always I've never really knew what a baritone guitar was or what it did. But the other band I was going to mention is Car Bomb, because I don't know how they escaped my attention for so long, but fucking hell, Car Bomb are ridiculous. They kind of make Meshuggah seem like doddering old men. They kind of take what they do and just go, come on, speed it up a bit. Weird rhythms in. Blows me away what that band does. It's absolutely mind-bending. And yeah, I realise everyone's playing baritone guitars these days, it seems like. And I've always hated the idea of like 7, 8 strings. I can't be bothered to learn a whole new thing. But with a baritone, you can go really fucking low, stick with the 6 strings. So yeah, that's what I've done. Loath and Car Bomb.
can't believe you slagged off my sugar. They'll probably be this close to inviting us along on tour once.
You guys are never gonna tour together now. That's what truly what happened was that you guys are not toured it. Well, listen.
Ironically, that's like Johnny's dream and has been for the last like 8 years. Like that's exactly. I
was very surprised he made that. When he said that, I was very surprised he made that comment because it's on the internet. You know, I figured he'd learn from James's mistake of calling out. You know.
And he's like the girlfriend's brother. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, see, look at that. That's what I'm saying. So that's what we're. You know what? Listen, it's whatever.
You know what? They can take it. They can take it. Nobody in a band they've never heard of.
Oh man,
it'll be on the next album. It'll be a quote: "Doddering old men." Like, that'll be the thing. That'll be the back of the band, like the album cover.
That would be like the outro portion of the track. They'll just hit you with like an 8-string like just bump, and then there would be like "Doddering old men," and then that would be it. That would be the end of the song. It'd be like you know. But Andy.
I'm going to shout out Loathe as well. Me and Johnny actually went to go see them at their London album release show, and it was just insane. Like during the last song of the encore, I think there was like 30 or 40 members of the crowd like on the stage. It was ridiculous. Another band I went to see in January is a band called Night Versus.
Nice.
They're a band who used to have a singer, and then on their latest album, it's instrumental, and I feel like it really unleashed their creativity a lot in what they can do with these weird effects and kind of cool guitar sounds. And then a bit of a different take on it is an album that came out this week or last week. Is the new Childish Gambino album that I've been listening to a little bit. So yeah, kind of it's a bit different from his older stuff. It's a lot more kind of chill. But yeah, been kind of digging that a little bit as well.
Sounds like a good mix, guys. I'm glad you are all co-signing Loathe because they're fantastic. Shouts to
great.
Loathe.
So good.
They're awesome. Next question, guys. If you were to compile a musical supergroup, who'd be in your band?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say Anthony Green on vocals. I'm just going to get that in there before anyone else can consider it.
All right, you have vocals covered. Who's next?
Holy moly. All right, can I can I take why what am I going to say, James? I want to hear.
Are you going to say drums?
Yeah.
Travis Orban.
Yeah, Travis Orban, on the drums.
Okay.
Sorted.
Okay, despite being a doddering old man, I'm going to invite Frederick Bordendahl into this super group.
It's too late.
It's too late.
No,
It's got nothing to do with
He's been missing for a while. I don't know what the hell he's doing these days. He's not been playing with Meshuggah, but he's fucking great. He's going in the band. Done.
Yeah, okay. So that's an interesting mix already. So we've got some.
we got quite an interesting team of musicians here so far. So who's gonna fill in the blanks?
Who's on bass? Like Mark King, level 42.
What? Oh my god, that's an incredible like pick out of like 80s random music. That's unbelievable. No one knows who level 42 are. Okay. Who's good at bass? No one knows.
Andy, do you want to pick someone?
Let's get some Victor Wooten in there, funk it up a little bit, you know?
Oh yeah.
That'll work.
Okay.
Oh, could I also say, do we get two? Do we get more? I guess as a group we come up with this. We haven't covered saxophone, we haven't covered keys. But like before we get to that, the other guitarist, can he be Guthrie Govan?
Oh yeah.
Loving it so far. Yeah.
This is very sick. All right, well you said you have a keyboardist now and a saxophone player. Who are you jiving with?
Saxophone, I think, has to be that guy who used to be Tina Turner, and he was also in it's a really famous film that has become a meme where he's on stuff.
Hang
on, I'm gonna find that.
Oh my god. It's not The Bodyguard, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh shit.
I know who you mean. We'll find out.
Fire, so bear with me.
I mean, if he's going to be in the band and we don't know his name, I don't know.
Well, alternatively, that guy who did the Careless Whisper.
Yeah. That's a good shout. Also, as a backup, if that guy's not available, can we just get the guy that invented the saxoboom on instead?
Yeah.
Because then the music's already pre-arranged. You can just play around the saxoboom ones. And go like, there you go, there's a song already. Travis, kick up a beat. Come on. The writing process is so much easier that way.
They've got
and then
it.
on keys.
Tim Capello, that's his name. Tim Capello is on
Tim Capello.
And look up Tim Capello. Lost Boys is the film, apparently.
Lost Boys. That's another 80s classic right there. That's the vampire one, isn't it?
Yes.
It is. It is. Key. Let's have Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater on the keys.
Oh my god!
Look at that guy. Fine specimen of a man.
Oh wow!
Oh my god!
And I think that's plenty of members.
That you got a whole entourage of people playing for your band. Guys, you can get tickets for this insane show. It's a one-off show that's only going to happen in a small pub in the UK somewhere in 2021. So be stoked. I'm not going to give you a ticket link because it probably doesn't exist. So anyway, next question. Why they're still alive. That's why there's still... The next question, guys, would be one that I'm very curious to see how you guys will answer. What is your favorite "You Win Again" Gravity track that you guys have played live, and then what's one that's your favorite on any release that you guys have done so far?
I think there's going to be a general consensus on this.
Really?
Yeah.
Andy is very confident about this.
I'm pretty sure at least two or three of us are going to say the same thing here.
Go on.
I think it's such a cliche to pick the latest thing that you've put out, but I think Recursive is my favorite song that we've done across any release. I think it comes as close to like the vision of like the band I've always wanted to be in. I think it kind of fits as closely to the blueprint I would create. I'm really proud of that one, and the writing process was really great. It was one of the ones we did this writing weekend before we went away, and kind of all sat and wrote it collaboratively. And I just think it's a really interesting song, and I think it kind of showcases a little bit of everything we do. So yeah, I'm gonna say that for like favorite across all releases. We technically have played it live. I have not because I wasn't there. The rest of the band has, so.
That's true. Yeah.
I think one that we played live that we all probably enjoyed a lot is Anonymity, because that was one of the first songs that was that long and had as many different kind of textures and sections to it. But we were all really happy with that song, and I, for one, love playing that song live. Don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah, it's good
I
fun
was
to
say I was torn between Recursive and Anonymity. So yeah, I just agree. So far.
Andy,
well done.
So having joined the band later on, I think the song that always sticks out in my mind is the one that really got me into these guys is "Swept to the Waves and Lost." I always stick that one on. I always love listening to it. So yeah, I personally never played it live. I don't know if the rest of you guys have.
No, that's never been played live.
We haven't talked
But
about
I think Anonymity is a really fun one to play live. Yeah, for sure.
there we go. And then Jack, I don't know where Jack's went. He's gone. He's disappeared.
Sorry, I'm here. I'm so torn. I have a problem with our music. Fundamentally, I think it's awful. No,
that's not my problem. You have 4 other members you have to worry about. I'm just the interviewer. I get to leave after this. You guys can fight it out.
Pick up the pieces
through the internet.
Yeah.
Solo careers from here on out.
No, so the thing is, I kind of like I get into phases where I think like I prefer one and prefer the other. It's just normal. I guess you do it with like all bands. Like, oh, this is the one I like the most, and this is the one I like. So like traditionally, I always like Swept to the Waves and Lost as well. So I remember thinking like that had kind of like there were lots of parts of that song which for once I can be really picky, and that was one where I kind of came together and I was like, that's worked out quite well. That's all right. That's a decent song.
That's what you're aiming for.
For me, it is. Yeah. Recursive is great, especially like live. Yeah. That's a lot of fun just because of the it's like the newest one we've got. It's still fresh for us, but like also it is an interesting song and it kind of like go twos and fro's a bit. But then actually probably the one I like to play the most live, I have the most fun with, is blanked on the name. Jesus Christ. Hang on. What's it called?
Sing it.
Single word title. Huh?
Skyline.
Seamless.
No, dude. No. Okay.
Atomize.
I just love how Jack is in the band.
Seamless.
I can't even remember the name of it.
Seamless. It's because we did it ages ago. Seamless.
Okay.
So you can edit that, right? You can cut that bit. Where I don't know.
We're definitely saving that, dog. That is fully saved in this interview. You're not getting away from that one.
Brilliant. I mean, the problem is a lot of the times the working titles of the songs get stuck in my brain, and then when we change it to a real song name, I just forget because like that's not what we've been calling it for the last.
Well, then what's the working title then? If you remember that one.
Do you know what? I'm not even going to do it. Like, you don't want to follow us down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
No.
It's been 4 years, Jack. We're gonna do it. I'm taking it down the hole, baby. Let's do it.
Oh Christ. No, sorry. Yeah, no. Seamless is the most fun live. That's definitely the most. Like, I get into that. It's quite bouncy. It's got some like fun bits in it, and the end section's wicked as well. So like, that's probably the most fun I have on stage. Or yeah, I'll stop talking. That's fine. That's plenty.
All right, guys, and then the last thing is the most important thing. Tell me about your band. I think you can find you on the social media and anything coming up, relatively soon. I'm not going to say months because I feel like I don't want to put you guys on a time frame. And also because I don't know what's going to happen in a couple months.
Okay. Well, the easiest place to find us is on Facebook. We're just under You Win Again Gravity. Then we've obviously all got we're on Instagram as well. And look at our YouTube account, which has got everything on us. Pretty much everything that we've released is also on YouTube. But yeah, Spotify is the easiest way, or like Apple Music, any of the rest of the streaming services. But to catch up with what we're doing day to day, Facebook, probably the easiest way. Bandcamp, where you can get a load of merch, but we're basically under You Win Again Gravity under all of them because no one else is stupid enough to have that as a band name. So in terms of stuff coming up, as we've said, we have actually got some chunks of songs already written this year. It's going pretty well. So there'll be some stuff out later this year. I'll say it will be this year. And hopefully it will be at least two, maybe three. It'll be 3 tracks, let's say.
Just remember, it's on the internet. So if it's like 2 songs, I'm not gonna be happy about it. Just me. I'm just not gonna be happy about it. Everybody else may be okay with it. I'm not gonna be happy about it because I know.
We're calling it 2.5 because one might be shorter and it'll be like a bit more fun. We'll see what happens with that. But the main thing is hopefully we can write. Yeah, like we can. We're limited by the amount of time we can afford in the studio.
It's just gonna be like one song that was like you're gonna have like 2 complete songs, and then the third one is gonna be like, okay, well we got a third song. It's great. We're gonna do it, and then like basically they just cut the recording in half, and you don't get to hear the other half of the song. That's what I feel like is gonna happen.
Exactly. They'll make us pay, and then like 2021, you'll hear the second half of the song as a separate track.
Yeah,
done.
There you go.
But yeah, hopefully this year we'll be writing more than we can release, if that makes sense, because we're going to be limited on studio time. So we'll release like 2.5, 3 songs, but then we'll have other stuff that we can put to bed next year.
There we go. Well, go check out You Win Again Gravity. Didn't say You Win Against Gravity because I've completely botched that the last time like 4 years ago, and that was the first thing that Jack has told me as soon as we hopped on. He was like, don't butcher our name again. And so I feel like I had to call him out a little bit because you know what, it's been 4 years. And I'm glad you held it great for that long, for 4 years.
I'm glad you've learned the name now, man. That's good.
I've perfected my English now after 4 years of hard studying, a lot of interviews, and just watching soap operas since now I'm stuck at home.
I've almost understood everything you said, so that's great.
Well, go check out You Win Again, Gravity. All the links will be in the description. I feel so honored to have them back on because they were this literal second band that I had ever done an interview with, and to have my first two bands that I had ever interviewed international bands is very cool, and obviously speaks for like just music in general. So go check them out. Go check out Recursive, because I'm pretty sure I said reclusive at least one point in this interview. So I can't go without messing up at least one word. So go check.
This will be a running joke from now on.
It is going to be a running joke. I'm gonna definitely. And our third interview, I'm gonna mess up something else on purpose. But go check out their stuff. If you enjoyed this interview, share it, like it, subscribe, please. Go check these guys out. They're awesome. Great UK band. And I'm excited to see what they have going further into this year and 2021, because we all know 2020 is canceled right now. It's all done. 2020 doesn't exist anymore. So thanks to the guys for coming on and chatting today.
Thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Take it easy.
Been a pleasure.
Awesome.